Michael, not letting the mute
Oh,
button get me today.
I'm proud of you. I was actually shocked that the mute button got you the week you were home and not the week you were in like a torrential downpour at the stadium under a tent. So good to see that you've rebounded here in week 3. Preseason is basically, they once they shorted it down, weeks 1 and 2 became like the extended preseason for some people. Week 3, you are who you are at that point. You got to get your acting gear. So I'm glad to see it. How are you feeling, man?
Preseason's over. Got to get the details right. We had a really good week of practice, so we're ready to get going here.
Love to hear
Quick
that.
shout out, Bada Bombs in the chat saying that beat bumping. Guess who wrote that beat? That was none other than Dan, Citizens of Football Land. Buck the Trend Dan wrote that beat for us and produced it. So thank you. Shout out Dan for that.
Dan is a man of many talents. Can only sing his praises, so much at this point because that guy can literally do anything at this point. If I need help with literally anything, Dan is my first call. Whether it's to build the draft guide website, whether it's to watch defensive line play, whether it's to literally create music for the show, the man is a man of many talents.
Absolutely. So we got a big game today. I'm really tired of having games that feel like must-win games this early in the season. For you, I don't imagine you feel that way, right? Because you were like, no, this is exactly what I thought was going to happen.
Yes.
Doesn't matter. They're finishing out around 5-6 anyway. So you don't feel that like, oh my God, we got to win pressure today?
It's like there and it's not there. Like, did I predict the Jets when we did our season predictions to go 0-2? Yes, I did. Did I predict them to win this game if memory serves me? Which during the season, before the season started, I was like, I don't know, maybe I got a little too optimistic. Maybe I let Paul's 10-win prediction rub off on me too much, and I should have held firm. But also, like, looking at how injured Tampa is, maybe it's a game that is winnable. So maybe, we'll see who's right in the end with that. But it's more that it's not really to save the season. It's more just like when you get to 0-3 as a new coach, it just feels like the narrative of like, when is it going to happen just keeps going. Like, Robert Saleh got his first win. Week 3 was against the Titans. Gase was the legendary Cowboys game because basically Gase got like a free pass because Darnold got mono after week 1. So I think that was like week 5. But like, the Luke Falk start, they had the bye was super early that year. I think it was like week 4. And then Bowles, I think, won his debut. So like there was no like chatter with that. But I feel like when there's a new coach and once you get past 0-2, it just becomes much more of a narrative about like, when is this guy going to get his first win? So that's more to save the season. I don't think the season is like salvageable in the way where like playoff contention is concerned, but like for Aaron Glenn to lay the groundwork, I think today is a big day. And if you believe in the Aaron Glenn era, which I still do, yes, he's going to have to win one of these next 3 games and preferably 2 of them.
I remember texting somebody after Darnold beat the Cowboys that year and basically being like, it's amazing how much more fun football is when you have a quarterback. And because he looked, not only did he come back, he looked good in that game. And it was like, all right, like maybe we're cooking with something here. And that was a dark first month of the season. Are you going like full dark cloud today? Like
I just feel like we might. I don't know. When it comes to bait, I just feel like this is, if they were playing any other quarterback, I'd actually feel like, like there's a lot of guys out. I don't know how they're going to deal with this. New play caller, no continuity in the offensive line. They have one receiver. But like because it's Baker, and I feel like Baker has like that superpower where as he gets doubted, he inherently gets better, even though they're a 7-point favorite or 6.5-point favorite, whatever the line is at this current moment. Like, but it still feels like the Tampa's kind of an underdog, or they can still do the nobody believes in us because their entire team is hurt, even though they are 2-0 and probably are when they're fully healthy, maybe the 3rd best team in the NFC after Green Bay and Philly. Like, yeah, like. So I don't know the Baker aspect of this, and also I feel like Baker doesn't hate the Jets because like we didn't have a chance to like pass on him, like he was taken 1st overall. But I always feel like Baker plays well against the Jets whenever we do see him.
Yeah, well, he made his debut against us for sure. And we'll get into all the connections from that game later. But you're right. Like Baker does his best work when everybody thinks he sucks. And that's why he was good at Oklahoma. He was always like the small guy, whatever. Like everybody was always doubting him all the time. I have a long running theory that the reason it didn't work for him in Cleveland was because he didn't know how to handle success and he didn't know how to handle being the number one overall pick and people actually believing in him. And, if he's picked, let's say between 7 and 10 in that draft, or God forbid he falls down into like the 20s or something, he probably never leaves his original team and he figures it out. Right. And so, yeah, you're right. Like he's the wrong quarterback to play against a hurt team for sure. But when we were predicting before the season started, we kept all saying, hey, no Wirfs, no Godwin. But as you alluded to there, it's gotten worse for them. It's no Wirfs, no Godwin, no Cansey, no Cody Mosh. Gadecki's out. Abuka's on. I don't know if I even believe this. They're saying he's on a pitch count. I don't think I believe that. I think if the game's flowing and he's okay, like I don't see them being like, hey, we need to rest your hip for the rest of the game. So that feels like gamesmanship to me. But regardless, I mean, it's going to be Mike Evans and then like whoever else they can figure out, right?
Tom Miller.
Probably a lot of person. Probably a lot of tight end usage today. There's going to be a rookie safety in. So honestly, I'd rather them be attacking a rookie safety than Tony Adams. And that's something we'll get into later as well. But there's a lot to kind of kick around here. And, there's a lot of unknown, I guess, in this game, because if it were both teams at full strength straight up, you probably feel pretty good about the Buccaneers. But what's going to happen with all kind of the unknown and the injuries and all the different things that could go down in this game. Where do you want to start, Meegs? Where do you want to get this thing going?
I feel like we should start with Tyrod, because very important that the pronunciation gets right. I feel like everyone calls him Tyrod, and he's our starting quarterback today. So we should pronounce it correctly the way that his parents named him. Almost feel like I feel like the offense will fundamentally change, but I don't think he decreases their chance of winning, because he presents a less variance game than Fields, where he will probably not have a game as good as Fields week one. But if he stays on the field for 4 quarters, it'd be kind of surprising if he played as bad as Fields did last week. So the offense almost has to fundamentally change, but I don't know if it makes the offense inherently better. But for a team that I think can stop the run and a team like the Jets were going to struggle to run the ball with, I do like that it is Tyrod, because he actually can throw the ball. He's actually going to get Garrett involved. Hopefully they get Brees going in the passing game. Maybe this is the Mason Taylor breakout game. Maybe Jeremy Ruckert, the switch has finally been flipped, and it's not just the Ohio State connection, and that he actually can catch passes from other quarterbacks too. Maybe that happens, but I feel like he's the biggest thing where it's like the offense is going to be different in a good way. I guess I'll leave it with you.
So I think that I agree that I don't know if it makes the offense better, but I think the lowering in variance that you talked about actually increases the chance of a win. And that's not to say that Tyrod should be the quarterback the rest of the year. I'm not saying that necessarily. But when you remove that, those sub floors, right? So if we're talking floors, Tyrod has a floor and it ends there. There's nothing else. Justin Fields has a floor and then 30 sub basements where
he's the Earth's crust. Yeah.
It can get real ugly with Justin Fields. And that's not it's just because of the variance of his game. He plays a little wild. He's fast, he runs, he can fumble. So I think just removing that variance, I think kind of increases the chances. I'm not surprised that it didn't move the line at all or anything, but I think it'll be hopefully pleasant for Jets fans to watch. Kind of a more traditional isn't the right word, but kind of like a quarterback who's not going to kill you, right? Because I think we've been dealing with quarterbacks who can do crazy things athletically, but can also just kill you and rip your heart out for so many years that it'll be nice to lower that variance a little bit for the game. So Tyrod's last 4 starts, obviously he's been a backup for a pretty good chunk of his career at this point, between that fateful time in with the Chargers in I always want to say San Diego, but LA, Cleveland, he backed up Baker. New York, he backed up Daniel Jones. So he's been doing this for a while now. He's a pro backup. The last 4 starts he had were all with the Giants. He went 2-2. He completed high 60s in his passes. He's generally throwing for over 200 yards every game. He got over 300 once. He's at 4 touchdowns, 2 picks. And so like kind of everything we just described is just like kind of a steady average NFL passer. And I'm not sure, like, you know, you take these 4 games and you look at the yardage totals, 297, 319, 279, 200. Like, I don't know if you can find a Jets quarterback who put up 4 consecutive starts like that in a few years, right? So I think
unless Rodgers' fake stats at the end of last year really like pumped it up like to that point where people are like, oh, well, his numbers weren't that bad because of the Jaguars game, because of the last Miami game when I think Tyler Huntley was the quarterback and like the last game of the year. Like, unless it's like that stretch of the Rodgers era, I am hard pressed to think of a quarterback who had like basically that good a month, we'll call it, those 4 starts in a row in some time.
Yeah. We first comment about Fernando Mendoza. I was texting you about him last night.
Yes,
because that game was insane. We teed him up on Tuesday and we said he's going to play a real team now, and he beat the snot out of Illinois.
Yeah, Indiana killed them. It wasn't even close. Mendoza, perfect point guard offense, only 5 touchdowns, 2 incompletions. Really, just he's a point guard, and that's what they asked him to do, and that's how he ran the offense. So super efficient performance. He's got 2 more big games really on the slate this year when they play Oregon and when they go to Happy Valley at Penn State. If he continues to, those numbers are going to be hard to reproduce against anyone, let alone 2 teams in the top 5 currently. But if he can do it, he's going to fly up draft boards and become a real option if the Jets are the 5 to 6 win team that they are at the moment trending to be.
Yeah, we'll dig into more of the college quarterbacks on Tuesday. Obviously, this week we finally got kind of a good week where there were a few good performances around. We did take a bunch of guys off the board last week. We're not going to talk about Arch Manning. He had a 5 total touchdown performance, but we're not going to talk about him. He's 2027.
Winless Sam Houston. Well, if Arch plays well in Red River against that Venables defense, maybe we'll talk about it. But Kate Klubnik is never being spoken about again, so don't ask.
So Rory, I saw Rory pop into the call-in window here. It said that it was waiting for you to connect a mic and a camera. You don't have to do the camera if you don't want to, but we will need a mic. So Rory, when you're ready to hop back in, if you can connect a mic.
Before we get to Rory, yes, Wordmeister, I am very concerned as Jets fans that Tyrod gets hurt today, and we have to see Brady Cook. And Brady Cook versus the Dolphins is like a real game, which also would be hilarious if Brady Cook, which I don't think is going to happen. If Brady Cook beats the Dolphins, that will actually end the Mike McDaniel era, which for the hilarity aspect, with the small chance that happens, I understand. But yes, Tyrod getting hurt today and then Brady Cook hours happening is definitely a real concern for the Jets. I'm kind of hoping that he gets out of Florida okay, plays well, and then Fields is just back. Because, unless Fields is going to have, multiple stinkers in a row where, you're actively hurting the team, keeping him on the bench when he's healthy, there's just no point. For me, Tyrod's 36. Could he be a better, option to win you games? Sure. In some weeks, that's definitely a real conversation that can really happen. But is it, unless Fields is killing you, and right now he's been the reason you had a really good chance to beat Pittsburgh, and right now he's not the reason you lost to Buffalo, but certainly he didn't help. He's currently, 1 good game, 1 bad game, which if we get 9 good games and 8 bad games from Fields, I think we'll probably take it, to be honest with you. If he's going to keep trading them off, I think that's fine. I don't think that's a detriment where you're if it gets to be 4 bad games in a row, then maybe you have to have this conversation. But yes, I am very concerned that Brady Cook might start a game for the Jets this year, and I'm hoping it does not happen.
Yeah, so look, I'm not trying to logic this because there's no arguing the logic that you just laid out there. I will say it feels very Jets to get a guy who has had these weird injuries. He got his lung punctured with a needle in LA. Yes. That's what happened, right?
Correct. Yeah, so that's how Justin Herbert's career started.
So to bring this guy in and to have him get hurt instantly and have to go to Brady Cook, it feels very Jetsy, right? But it's almost like this guy's been so unlucky over the course of his career, wouldn't the most Jets thing that he actually gets hot, like really hot, and stays healthy, and it creates a situation where we're like, oh my God, we have to play Tyrod Taylor, and we possibly have to extend Tyrod Taylor at the end of the year. Like, isn't that kind of the most Jets outcome, right?
The most Jets outcome, I think, honestly, is like he plays well. They ride him. They go on like a 5-1 like win streak. The Jets are sitting here like 6-4. Like, oh my God, like the defense is playing well. They can run the ball. The Jets are frisky. And then he gets hurt. Like a la when they started 8-3 with Favre, and then he got hurt.
You're right. That's much closer. Let's debate like the virtues of, is it worth it? Because everything you laid out logic wise is correct, right? Like Fields is on a 2-year deal. You have to see if you have something here. 2 games isn't enough. All that's true, right? Is it worth it to play this veteran just to, if you think that it gives you a better chance at just squeaking into the playoffs? And we're not saying, hey, maybe we can win a Super Bowl with Tyrod. None of that's happening. But is it worth it just to like end this pain for the fans for 1 year?
I think that like Fields isn't your rookie quarterback. You're not on a rookie contract window with him. You're not, fully financially invested in him. Like that contract, we talked about it with Connor last week. Like it's a good contract. Like you're not, if he balls out, you're not set up to like the Darnold thing that happened with the Vikings, where now Carson Wentz is starting games for them because they only had Darnold for 1 year and they were discussed, between playing JJ or franchising Darnold. Like, you don't have that conundrum if it comes that way. So yeah, like Aaron Glenn, like this isn't like benching. I'm trying to think like what's an example. Like this isn't like, but we use like the Giants for an example. Like if Eli Manning was playing bad, and like you had Kurt Warner in, and you're trying to win games with Kurt Warner, you're kind of doing that out of the expense of developing a rookie quarterback. Justin Fields is in year
5,
7, 6. He's in the 21 class. Is this 5?
Yeah.
Okay, year 5. Okay, regardless, yeah, year 5. I think it was 6. Whatever. Year
3
5.
in Chicago, 1 in Pittsburgh.
Yes. Okay, you are correct. All right, so yeah, this is year 5. Like, not saying that he can't develop, but like you're not. This isn't like you're not Chicago. You didn't take him in the top 12 picks. Like,
right.
There's no one at the expense you're doing this from. So if the Jets have a chance to end this drought by any ways possible this year, you just got to do it. Like, regardless of like hurt feelings or relationships or whatnot in that regard, and then you find a way to take your quarterback next year, or if, in that regard, if it's not going to work out with Fields. But there is no, in the quarterback position, there's no one development-wise that has to be prioritized for this year.
Yeah, and Mike, your comment is heard in the chat, right? We did know who Fields was, and we're not really talking about benching him. We're saying that he's out already, right?
This is a delusional conversation.
We're in La La Land right now. So this is by no means is this an anti-Fields conversation at all. I think especially Meegs and I have been like very like we want this kid to work. It would be nothing better than to be able to grab a quarterback for the contract that they got him at, and for it to work. And like I've said so many times, I'm just so happy to have a quarterback who's not a weirdo, who's not like saying weird stuff in the press or like behaving weirdly with the reporters or going on Pat McAfee. Like it's been so long.
Or Mormonism,
Yeah, it's been so long. So this is really not anti-Fields at all. This is just kind of playing out scenarios of what could happen if Tyrod plays really well. Let's get back to this game at hand a little bit. So a couple things, we'll start on the Jets side and then we'll go to the Bucs side with some Baker Mayfield stuff. Jermaine Johnson's out today. In the first 2 weeks, he played 90% of the snaps in week 1 and 50% of the snaps in week 2. And essentially it was only 50 because he got hurt and came out of the game. Michael Clemens is already playing above 50% snaps in both games, right? Will McDonald is playing just above 50% snaps in both games. So that means that you have, let's call it 30 to 40 snaps today that you got to figure out between Braden McGregor and Tyler Barron. Or you have to do something clever that a few guys have talked about on Badlands shows this week of, are you sliding Quinnen down? Are you giving more reps to Briggs and Phillips? Are you doing something creative on the defensive line to try to avoid giving those snaps to McGregor or Barron? Meegs, you're the defensive coordinator. How are you handling these snaps today?
I'm probably putting a shotgun in my mouth, to be honest with you. But,
God.
But I mean, Will McDonald, and I know you've been like harping on, but you've noticed like his snap count is so game script dependent. Where like if the team that you're playing is constantly ahead of the sticks, and they're in like it's 2nd and 3, it's 3rd and 1, like it's not like in like obvious passing down situations. He's always gonna have a lower snap count than we expect because he's not a designated pass rusher, but he's not quite a 3-down player yet, or the staff doesn't trust him to be quite yet, and maybe that has to change today because Michael Clemens shouldn't be an any down player, and he's still playing 50% of the snaps.
Right.
Like McGregor can't really play. Barron, at this point, in my opinion, definitely cannot play because he's also the exact body type that Will McDonald is, where like his calling card at Miami wasn't as a run defender. It's that he's actually like a pass rush specialist because he couldn't stop the run. So I don't see an increase in his snaps. I think you'll see more of Will McDonald. I think we're going to see an unhealthy amount of Michael Clemens. And then I don't know if they go to like a full 3-down front because like Wilkes has changed his fronts before. Like Wilkes is not Bob Saleh married to the 4-3. Like he has played 3-down linemen before. He's had guys stand up. He has mixed things up, which I'm hoping we see today. And if we don't, I think that's going to be who actually is at the controls here because I've seen Steve Wilkes at least do that. Steve Wilkes is fairly decent about adapting to his personnel, whereas the shortcomings we think that he has. But yeah, it's not going to be pretty. And Troy Sturgis's point about probably should have signed Clowney when he was available late in the preseason. I don't know if Jadeveon was signing up to play for a team that bad, but he signed up to play for the Panthers last year. So I don't think that's a real like excuse. Like Dallas isn't exactly a Super Bowl contender either. So yeah, they could have definitely used him. And I think they thought Jermaine's rehab was ahead of schedule and he was able to get on there week 1. And I think that's why they didn't try to get another body in. And unfortunately for Jermaine, thankfully it's not his Achilles, but he did hurt his ankle. And now they're basically in the same spot without that added protection.
Yeah, Zadarius Smith would have been another option. He's a guy that played in Detroit, has some familiarity with Glenn. I think Glenn did a good job when Hutch went out last year of kind of moving bodies around and just making it work. Like there were weeks where it didn't look great in Detroit on the defensive line, but they made it work, right? And they got to where they needed to get by the end of the year. And so it is a little curious how it all shook out. The whole like Will McDonald limiting the snaps to 50% thing, to me, it feels like, and maybe I'm stupid, right? But to me, it feels like you have a Lamborghini and you have a race, right? And you're like, well, the track's a little wet today, so why don't we just put out like the Chevy Cavalier instead, right? And it's like, okay, I get where you're going.
Is not good enough to be a Chevy Cavalier. Don't disrespect Chevrolet like that.
But like, okay, like I get it, right? You don't want to smash up the car, but we're not going to win either. So like, what exactly are we really doing here? There's a lot of me that is like, this guy's in year 3. What are we protecting at this point? Are we trying to say that, like, are they thinking about a contract already where they can position it as, well, you're just a pass rusher? Like, and I know that that's not really what it's all about. It's just trying to play to a player's strengths. But at a certain point when the depth is that thin, like, it's kind of like, all right, dude, I think you need to try to figure out how to play the run today, and let's get some live reps, and maybe that will show up better than trying to do it in practice, right? So I don't know, man. I'm tired of the back end of the defensive line rotation.
To see Bigsby in the chat saying that Crystal Palace will have a better season. Crystal Palace is one of the only 2 teams that are still undefeated in the Premier League. It's them and Liverpool. Crystal Palace will 100% have a better season than the Jets. I can confirm that to you today.
You might as well be speaking a different language to me. I don't know what any of those words mean.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's talk about the Bucks and Baker. So obviously, Wirfs has been out from the beginning of the year. So there was an expectation that the Bucks offensive line was going to struggle a little bit. But now with 2 more bodies out on that offensive line and only 2 weeks, it's starting to show up in the data a little bit. Baker Mayfield has 2.67 seconds to throw in the 2 games that we've played so far this year, which is 10th worst in the NFL, meaning his offensive line is not holding up as long as other offensive lines. Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor combined are actually the best in the NFL at 3.31 seconds to throw. What do you make of that today? Like, that kind of, to me, screams like, hey, if you can hit them, maybe that's a way to kind of equalize out this game and get it into a rock fight where, You just have to hope something crazy happens at the end, where as long as you're hanging around in the fourth quarter, you can get there. Because now with 2 more bodies missing from that Bucs offensive line, again, we just talked about all the limitations on the Jets defensive line too. So it's not like we're putting out our best for there. But is that something that you think can take advantage of, or is it going to be weakness against weakness?
So I think it's also a schematical aspect that we have to entertain, that like getting the ball out quickly isn't just because the offensive line is bad. It's because the Bucs offense is trying to mitigate that themselves by having like, quick throws, like from a design perspective. And the Bucs have a very good screen game. Bucky Irving is very good in the screen game, and the Jets are not a great tackling defense at the moment. I think that's fair to say from a diagnosing perspective, and also from just like a hey brother, can you please wrap up perspective. And I think the Jets are going to have to show they can tackle today, because the Bucs will have no problem basically, death by 1,000 cuts by just running these quick passes in that regard, where they can, stay ahead of the sticks and they can avoid obvious pass situations where the Jets, where Quinn can make an impact, where Will McDonald can make an impact, where you can send Quincy on a blitz and make an impact. Like, the Jets have to show they can tackle, and that is why the offensive line struggles for the Bucs, while I think are a big deal. And if they had to play a different team, I think that'd be a much bigger problem. But the Jets have to show they can tackle. And if they can't, it's going to be weakness on weakness, and you're not going to be able to really stop this Bucs offense in the way that you should if you play discipline, if you maintain your gaps, if you don't let guys, get extra yards after contact. And the Jets team show they can do that, because that Buffalo performance was pitiful.
Yeah, and especially if the Jets come into this game with like, hey, we're going to blitz 1,000 times because their line's weak, and we're just going to do anything we can to get penetration. And the Bucs' obvious first adjustment is just, okay, we're just going to run screens that are going to immediately get us past the first line, right? And then at that point, we're just into the second level, and you can't tackle us anyway, so we're going to keep running. So there's a huge potential glaring kind of issue there. Connor, how you doing?
Hey guys, Meegs, that hat is just unbelievable.
Oh, you like yeah, dude, my uncle, shout out my godfather, who might actually be watching today, gave me like 4 hats that I think all came before like, the year 2004. So I got like all these old retro ones these days. And I don't know if I remember this division title. So.
Yeah, you guys are stealing the hat title for like the best show hat-wise. I saw PK had on the sweet throwback Jets. I don't know if it's like the wave style or the shark style. I have a Rangers one, but they're sick. So well done all around. What have I missed so far in the first half hour?
The chat is going full doomer. Like, we're talking like, how does AG salvage going 0-3? Has any first time coach succeeded under Woody because it's career suicide? Like, we're getting it out in the dirt right now.
Fan base is down. I walked into SMY today, and our stage director, who's a huge Jets fan. I'm like, how are we feeling today? And like he's not like a total doomer, and he's like, well, at least today, like, we already know what's coming on like last week. Like, we're expected to just suck today. Like last week we had a little bit of hope, and I'm like, great. It's not even like the game didn't start for week 3, and everybody. I'm sure you guys have covered some of this. Like, I was listening to some Bucs coverage this week because I've had some friends that cover that team. John Ledyard covered that team. He did a really long show on them this week. The injuries over there are – I think the Bucs are going to win this game. I think it'll be more entertaining than last week, but by a large margin. But I'm fascinated to see the Bucs offensive line just trying to compete, like trying to survive today, because they're down to backups that are, quite frankly, barely NFL players. We've lived that life as Jets fans, seeing guys have to play like that. So, in theory, you think you're going to see quick game. You're going to see them trying to protect – Baker absolutely shreds man coverage. I know the Jets run man coverage at a top 10 highest rate in the league right now. And Baker's EPA against man coverage is one of the best in the league. So there needs to be serious philosophy changes today from the staff. If this staff comes in today doing what they've done the last 2 weeks, I will be at my low point with them, because I think it's very obvious what needs to be done today, especially with how shorthanded Tampa is.
And it would be incredibly frustrating to see Tampa have the same struggles that we've went through the last few seasons and figure out how to mitigate and manage it, when we just couldn't get it the last 3-4 years. Every time we would lose a couple offensive linemen, God, it would be brutal to watch that.
And they have a different offensive coordinator every year. So why are they just constantly figuring it out? And yes, these guys are getting head coaching jobs, but they're identifying, who to put in those roles. And Baker and that offense is a really good infrastructure. And Baker doesn't care who's in front of him. He's going to be a gamer in and out. So yeah, this is a weird game because a lot of things are in favor of the Jets, but Tampa has earned this goodwill and this belief that to the point where it's still a touchdown spread. And I honestly think that line is pretty fair, to be honest with you right now.
Yeah, agreed.
I said this before. I mean, Wilkes has never been married to a front in the way like Bob Saleh was. Do you think we're going to see some 3-down looks today just because their edge room at the moment is pretty dire, to be honest?
I was advocating for this very hard on Tuesday's show. And sometimes when I say things, I'm like, this is just like something that I would do, but I know they would never consider it. I did see, and I should have texted him about it, but I did see Connor Hughes put in a tweet like asking the question yesterday of if they'll play Briggs at end. And I'm like, maybe there is some chatter around the team, around the building. I mean, during the season, I can't go to the facility. I have too much going on with my full-time job compared to summer where I could pop over there. And it's also just logic. I'm not like acting like I'm Albert Einstein by saying like, hey, Michael Clemens is, listen to this. And I'm about to say this on pregame, but I'll say it here first. I went back yesterday because we had weird weather delays for Big Ten. So I was just hanging out at NBC watching more Jets-Bills film like a normal, well-adjusted human. So I ran a filter to watch James Cook's runs of 5+ yards. I believe he had 11 of them, which is catastrophic, by the way. Clemens was on the field for 9 of the 11 runs and uncompetitive on almost all 9 snaps. So, like, you can say, like, we like what Mike's doing. He has a role that doesn't show up in the stat sheet. People that haven't played football wouldn't understand. Like, you could say all those things, but when you go watch the film and you take the time to watch the plays that were chunk gains, like 5 yards a pop in the NFL, like 5 yards on 11 plays, and one of the main culprits is on 9 of 11 of them. I don't like. Am I do somebody have different film than me? I just don't. How many different ways can we say this over and over again? So, assuming they watch the same film and the same problems, you have to try something different. And you can't sit there and say, well, if we play Briggs at the end, that takes away the pass rush that Clemens brings, because Clemens brings no pass rush. So I think you will see some 3-man fronts of Briggs, Quinnen, and Horrible Harry today, Harrison Phillips. So we'll see. And when I say Horrible Harry, I love Harrison Phillips. I know that's his like Twitter name or something like that. He's not a bad player.
It's a children's book of memory. So I think I read when I was like 6. So shout out Harrison Phillips, remembers that time.
He's a very funny guy. I know he hasn't done a lot of Jets media yet, but I interviewed him when he was a prospect going into that draft, and he is a really, really funny guy. So I would not be surprised if that's what it's alluding to.
That's fantastic. So we were trying to figure out earlier if JJ snaps get redistributed on the defensive line somehow. It sounds like maybe there's a possibility that they get redistributed to the back end.
Yeah, I would think so. I would hope so. I mean, I'm trying to think like schematically. And I said, another thing too is like this whole like hiding Will McDonald thing. If you're playing 3 heavier defenders and you ask Will to stand up a little bit, and you could have him peel off and run and cover and not do that a lot, but like it's a wrinkle you could do because of the athlete he is. But then keep it unpredictable. And the issue is right now with this team, besides all the things we talk about nonstop, is the linebackers are way too small for the style that they're playing, and they're also late to the ball. So you could be small, but if you beat the guy to the spot, it doesn't matter. But if you're small and you don't beat the guy to the spot, you're an ineffective starter in the league. So if the linebackers play better and if a heavier front helps them with that, and then they kind of cheat at moments to Sherwood, and this kind of goes back to something I thought after cuts when Tony Jefferson or a player or Jabril Peppers were they were out there. Tony was on a practice squad, didn't make the Chargers. Jabril Peppers was cut. You have those box style safeties. They can help when they allocate attention to the Will McDonald side or help against the run or compete in the box. Tony Adams can't do that. He's one of the worst tackling safeties in football, so that's been a problem. I mean, Cisco's just kind of a middle of the pack player in really every aspect of the game, so that's fine. I think he has his high variance riverboat gambler moments, but overall, like, you don't look at Cisco as a tackler and think like, oh my God, he's an absolute disaster week in and week out. So yeah, I'm curious. Today's one of the days, like, no matter how the results play, I'll be watching the tape and looking for every single speck of dust that indicates they tried something different.
Yeah, so with the Bucks receivers room, it's Mike Evans, Godwin's out, McMillan's out, Emeka's on a pitch count. This is Brandon Stevens' last stand. Like, if we have to talk about him again, like, I think we're getting to the point where it's like, hey, brother, like, you got to send anyone else out there. Like, if Tom Miller's cooking you, that's when you know.
Sterling Shepard should be a big part of this game, I believe.
Oh, God.
Which is a great matchup for Michael Carter. Small versus small, lateral quickness versus lateral quickness. I actually would trust Michael Carter and man on him. I think Stevens would get slaughtered by Emeka Egbuka, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Emeka Egbuka on one leg or whatever it's going to be. The Jets can't go into this game thinking they can play man coverage at the rate they do. They can't. Baker will kill you. And even if they survive in coverage, which they haven't been, they've been horrible so far in man coverage besides Sauce. And that's everybody. They've been bad in the slot. They've been bad with Stevens. They've been bad at safety. They've been bad at linebacker. With the backs turned, Baker's going to run. Baker has like 70 rushing yards on 7 attempts this year. And his line is in absolute decimated today, where he's going to know that he's got to either get the ball out or run. And Baker's the type of guy, like, you rip his head off his body and his head morphs back onto the body and he just screams and goes to the next play. So It doesn't matter how many times you clobber him unless he legitimately gets hurt. So, yeah, I think schematically this is a wake-up call. I don't want, and I don't have any doubts right now about the staff after 2 weeks in that way. That's not fair. But I don't want them to be this 1 minute dimensional team that the defensive game plan is always the same. Like, you have to be fluid in today's game because you see so many teams built in so many different ways. And, they have kind of, and that's a Wilkes thing right now. So we'll see what Wilkes does. But this has been a Wilkes problem for about 4 years. So I'm not confident in changing unless Glenn kind of puts the iron fist down here.
And unfair to keep harping on these coaches for sins that weren't theirs, but I think there's a lot of fatigue among the fan base of coaches who are too stubborn to get off of what they believe is the right thing to do. And so to just keep running down the same path over and over again and getting beat, it feels even more frustrating to the fan base because we've watched it for such a long time. So just the virtue of trying something else, I think, goes a long way with the fans, even if it doesn't work.
Yeah. How many times over the last half decade have you sat down and watched a Jets game and went, whoa, like, what was that? And what's funny? I can kind of remember them. The first drive when Dal Loggins called plays in the Gates era, that one. Last year when Downing took over against the Bills, and instead of being so static, they ran a lot of motion and misdirection, and the offense played very well against the Bills at home that game. Defensively, maybe when Quinnen had his blow up on the sideline and they kind of peeled off the blitz a little bit, which, by the way, the Jets are hell-bent on blitzing right now, and they're the most predictable blitz team I've seen in the NFL in quite some time. Like, they're not running the right overloads. The one that worked was Sauce, and he can't tackle Josh Allen. The blitzes have been these quarterbacks, and it's Rodgers and Josh Allen, so yeah, give them credit for like sniffing it all out. But this is the schedule. It's Baker Mayfield, right? You're going to see Josh Allen again. Say what you want about Tua. Like, Tua's going to be able to read and see what the Jets are trying to do blitz-wise. That's not his issues. His issues is everything after the snap. So, yeah, I hope they change something in that way. But you're right, Paul. It's one of those things where it's like, man, we don't really care if you lose, but it's how you lose.
We're so beaten down that at this point, if they just don't run a draw play on 3rd and long, we're like, oh, wow, that's great. Good for them.
Yeah, the LaFleur Berrios like screen, like sideways pass was like the
cocaine
fire for
yeah. They called it cocaine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which somebody ran the other week, the other night. Who was it? This is going to drive me nuts.
Somebody ran this. LaFleur did that. Yeah.
Somebody ran this play on a primetime game over the last week, and I was like, cocaine. Like, standing up in my living room saying that, like, get a lot of looks from the family. Don't do that. At least I wasn't at work. But, all right, guys, I got to run in like 30 seconds. Keep killing it on the pregame show. Are either of you predicting the Jets to win today?
No, absolutely not.
No, a hard no. Well, I shouldn't ask you that. Paul?
Undecided. No,
I don't think the end of the show. Like, is that what I just did?
No. You're good. I don't think I really am. I legitimately am undecided. I don't think I'm gonna, but will I sprinkle a little on the money line? I might.
Okay, so you think they're gonna win? I think Jets covered the 7.5 or 7 wherever it's at right now. I think Tyrod goes over 186 passing yards. I think they lose, but I think they lose like by a weird score, like 28-23.
Maybe some scoreagami.
Yeah, like something weird is going to happen in this game where I'm like, how the hell did that happen? So, like, this could be a day where the Jets get a safety. I really think that. Yeah, so there's your hot prediction. That's probably like 200-1 on whatever book you
We'll
use.
look it up. We'll have it ready for the end of the show.
All right, thanks, boys. See ya.
Thanks,
Later, Connor. Thanks so much, man. PSU Joe put this in the chat, so I'll throw this to you because we talked about it. How do you think Membu and Olu match up with the Tampa Bay defensive line? I think fairly well, besides the fact that, God hates us and Hassan Reddick has to have a sack today because that's unfortunately what's going to happen. He could get stonewalled the rest of the game, but through hell or high water, he will get a sack.
That's the second time already that Hassan Reddick sack prop has been mentioned in the chat today. It's going to happen. I think you put it in our prep sheet, so we will talk about.
I think
that
I said it on the Tuesday show.
That's written in the stars. It happened 1,000 years ago. It's already done.
Yeah. Exactly. But I do like a Membu matchup for the most part. I don't think Tampa's edges or anything that really should scare them. Like Membu didn't get a ton of to really build off last week's performance because the offense was just barely on the field. It felt like last week. If we see more consistency, I think they're going to play well. I think the interior is going to play well. I do think the line's going to play well. I think that this question so you could answer the question of how are they going to play one-on-one against their matchups on the defensive line. Fine. I think we have better players. We're going to be okay. The question is, we all know how Bowles likes to play defense, right? He's going to run stunts. He's going to do creative, exotic looks. And it's going to be how are Olu and Membu at switching off and getting to the right guy, whether it's an outside zone run or you're just trying to protect Tarab, how are they at feeling where the pressure's coming from and sliding off their man to get to the right spot? I think that's going to be a good test for them because they haven't really seen a Bowles-style defense yet as a pair on the edge there. And so I think it'll be interesting to watch them today. There will probably be several plays where I'm just staring at the tackles and trying to see how they handle a more exotic defense. Yeah. Also, if Vita Vea just pile drivers, Josh Myers at least a couple of times this game, I'm definitely going to be the mindset because Josh Myers is not the biggest center and Vita Vea is a big nose tackle. So always have to be mindful of him. Do not try to run inside zone and duo on Vita Vea. Keep it to the boundary. More often than not, when he gets off the field, that's when you run inside. Respect him because he's a player worth respecting.
Absolutely. So let's get into some quick hitters, Meegs. Bucks haven't started 3-0 since 2005. It's been 20 years. I don't know if you believe in this NFL juju stuff. Mm-hmm. I kind of do. I feel like you have enough data in this league over long periods of time that when you see trends like this, and there's no reason for it, right? It's not like the Bucks have had the same coaching staff or the same players or anything else since 2005. That
they had their own 12-year playoff drought, before Brady got there. That was real.
But the Jets haven't either, and we see all this stuff span through Jets generations. So when I see that the Bucks haven't won 3 games to start a season since 2005, that's oh, okay, maybe I'll tickle the money line a little bit. Bowles, Baker, Tyrod, Glenn connection. So going back to that Cleveland game, that was Baker Mayfield's first appearance in the NFL. Tyrod Taylor started that game. Bowles was the Jets coach. Bowles coached Glenn, I think, in Dallas, and I think they might have overlapped a little bit when he was a scout. I'm not sure if that's correct, but I heard Glenn refer to Bowles coaching him in 2 different spots, and he said it was with the Jets and with Dallas. So all these guys know each other really well. There's good connections around here. The way the NFL is such a fraternity and all these guys just kind of bounce around and go to different places is really interesting. So that's kind of an interesting storyline to watch today. Brady Cook and Dean Clark are active. I'm going to just ask you a question, plain yes or no. Are either of those guys on the field today?
I'm trying not to entertain Brady Cook snaps. Dean Clark maybe on specials. I think you could see that. Yeah, that's a good point by Yoshi that they have started 2-0 for the past 5 years, and they have not won their 3rd game.
And that kind of feels
the Jets
ballsy,
are such
right?
a slump. The Jets are such a slump buster. I in that regard, I don't know. Yeah, Dean Clark I think on special teams. If you're seeing him, it's because Malachi Moore is not playing well or Cisco got hurt, which Both things are not good.
Do you think that if Malachi Moore plays well, that opens the door for Wilkes to feel more confident about other rookies getting on the field? And I'm mainly talking about AZ Thomas here, but like
I think it's more just his shoulder and then just how far along he is. Like if Azari Thomas did not get hurt in the preseason, I think there is a better chance of him seeing snaps. Then, I know Stevens has more guaranteed money. Steph invested in him. The front office invested in him. But when you're putting out the tape he's put out the first 2 weeks, like all that goes out the window. Like I think if AZ Thomas had a fully healthy training camp and knew the playbook as well and had those reps, I think it'd become a bigger conversation. If Malachi Moore plays well, I hope it leads to giving rookies more chances. But it really just feels like AZ Thomas, unfortunately, because that injury is just behind the 8 ball, and he's going to have to get out of that way himself, or unless Stevens gets hurt and he gets thrust into it.
How many weeks does it take where we get to the same conversation we're having about JJ and Clemens, or rather, Will and Clemens, where it's like, hey, yeah, no, I get that there's limitations here, but at a certain point, the guy you have out there is costing you games.
This is my game for that, and that's why I called it Brandon Stevens' last stand. Like, we'll see how much Emeka plays. We hope Sauce is going to travel for the most part with Evans. If Sterling Shepard or Tom Miller are getting after you and like giving up chunk plays to them, I think that's a brother. Please anyone else, because I don't think the Dolphins are good. That offense is completely fake in the way that so much is behind the line of scrimmage in that regard. But like Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill can at least play. The next 2 weeks you have Hill and Waddle, and then Pickens and Prescott. Pickens and Lamb. Like those guys are much better than the receivers you're going to see today. And if you can't handle Tampa's wide receivers 4 and 5, definitely not handling those guys.
Yeah. Man, Miami played a damn near perfect game the other night, and Buffalo played really, really poorly. And it still never really felt close.
The Patriots last week. I mean, that kickoff return was bad, and then HM stepped out. Like, if his foot is 1 inch the other way and he stays in on that run, they would have taken the lead. Like, do the Patriots have the juice to go down the field and score a touchdown? I don't know. So yeah, Miami's not a rollover team that the Jets should think they can just beat, especially on the road.
Agreed. All right. So Jets versus Bucks history. We're 10-3 all time, which shocked me when I looked that up because we have some pretty ugly histories against some teams. Yeah. Like until I think the Zach Wilson game against the Eagles 2 years ago, we had never beaten the Eagles ever.
I think they were 0-9 before that game.
We're like really bad against the Ravens too. We suck against the Ravens. So 10-3 against the Bucks was pretty good. I think probably my 3 biggest memories from Jets Bucks is number 1, it's Curtis to Corbett in the end zone to win the game the first year that Keyshawn was in Tampa. A couple years ago, Antonio Brown quitting football, walking off the field. And that was the game where the Jets lost. That was the moral victory of all moral victories, where we were like, wow, Zach Wilson might actually be able to play football. It's just that we got Tom Brady at the end of the game. But we might have something here in Zach Wilson. And then the one in the middle is Revis's first game as a Buccaneer, Gino's first game as a Jet, down in Tampa. I was actually in Poland for my brother's wedding for that game, and we rented out a bar and did something insane to try to get American football on a bar in Warsaw, and we watched that game, and they won that game, and that one was a pretty fun game as well. Do you have any Jets Bucks memories?
No, I was going to say the Antonio Brown. Someone put in the Antonio Brown one is the one that immediately comes to mind because it's so recent. Can you explain to me what the comment flashlight game 2.0 means? I have no idea what that means.
So when Keyshawn Johnson left, right? So he wrote the book, Give Me the Damn Ball. And I can't remember if the quote was in that book or if he said it after he left and went to Tampa. But he essentially said, I'm a star and Wayne Corbett is a flashlight. And so then the cover of the New York Post the next day after Corbett won the game in the rain on a pass from Curtis Martin was Green Lantern. So for like a few, we got a good few years of burn out of like the flashlight thing and calling Wayne Corbett a flashlight. But that's where the original quote stemmed from was Keyshawn and Corbett having beef.
Yeah, we do not play this team that often. The Jets have since the 2005 drought that we're talking about, that the Bucs have not gone 3-0. They've played the Jets only 5 times. So this is not a ton of memories for me in this regard. I'll be honest with you. I do in that regard. I do remember during the 2009 season when the Bucs were bad. Thomas Jones ran all over them and absolutely dump trucked them. I think the Bucs were like 1-12 that year.
Yeah. The other one I was trying to look up, but I couldn't really get it, was what is their record in the creamsicle uniforms? I know that
it's like not good if memory serves.
Well, so it all gets skewed because they were just a terrible franchise when they wore those regularly.
No, I'm talking about the retros. I'm not even talking about
right.
when they originally wore them as their uniforms. If memory serves.
I agree. I think they're bad in the retros as well, but I couldn't find the number. But that's another thing working in our favor today. So we'll see. Let's get to some X factors. We're down to about 10 minutes before we got to hand it over to SNY and Connor. So you have Sauce versus Mike Evans. You're right. We need a bounce back game from Sauce. The one thing that he said in the media this week that really frustrated me was talking about how he thought when he got through the line on that blitz call, he was like, I thought I had a free one against Josh Allen. And like, that just can't be the mindset when you're running into the backfield to tackle Josh Allen. Like, you have to go in there frothing at the mouth. Like, if I have to kill this person, I will kill this person. I'm going to do anything I can to get them on the ground. So that was frustrating. I think Sauce, great football player. Sometimes I wish his attention to detail was a little better. So he needs a big bounce back game against, one of the best receivers the league's ever seen.
Yes, he needs to lock up Mike Evans, or in that regard, or make Mike Evans go to the slot, because he cannot shake Sauce Gardner, because we need a big bounce back. He was very good in week 1. The holding penalty was tough in week 2. The missed sack was tough. The Mitch Trubisky throw, and when Allen got knocked out for the bloody nose and laying up that completion on 3rd down was killer. And for a player who gets paid as much as he does and has the accolades he does, that cannot happen. Shout out AI. I cannot confirm this is true or not. According to the robots, in the creamsicle retros, the Buccaneers are 1-5.
Oh, huge! I'm betting the house on Jets money line today. I've decided now.
It's the fact that you pussyfoot in front of Connor, where it's like, Paul, do you think the Jets are going to win today? Like, Paul's going to say that. I think that Paul is going to say the Jets are going to win every game on this show, besides maybe at Baltimore.
You guys really, you're constantly beating me down with this negativity. I just feel like I have to provide an alternative voice at this point.
Yeah, no, Paul is completely fine, not being right, as long as he gives you guys there's some light at the end of the rainbow, that, trust the process. But so that's that.
For the next X Factor, I'm just going to read Meegs' sentence straight out of our prep doc here because it made me laugh. Brandon Stevens versus NPCs. Godwin's out. Emeka on a pitch count. McMillan out. This is Stevens' last stand. If he can't hold down, quote, Tom Miller, he's got to hit the pine.
Yep. That's literally it.
I think we covered that a few times already, so we'll skip over that one. Quinnen in this makeshift offensive line. Do we see Quinnen at edge today in spurts? That was the first time I've heard Connor bring up Briggs possibly sliding out to edge. I feel like the conversation all week was about Quinnen going down there. Briggs going out there is an interesting wrinkle because he's kind of a big body run stuffer. So that would be a different look out there on the edge. But the Bucs have 2 backup tackles in. I mean, look, you got to find a way to take advantage of that somehow. I don't care what body you decide to put out there. You got to figure out a way to take advantage of it. You got
to get creative. Hopefully we see more stunts. Hopefully we see some simulated pressures. Hopefully we see some loops. Like, this offensive line, regardless of from a talent perspective, has no continuity. They haven't played with each other. Like, Graham Barton was the center last year. He's playing left tackle in regards for worse. There's no continuity on the offensive line. The players who are normally in there aren't in there, and they're also some are playing out of position. You got to see if you can test their communication, because Baker's played a ton of football. I don't think that's a guy who you're going to completely fool pre-snap, especially with how vanilla the looks the Jets have been giving. So you got to get creative and see if you can affect the communication rules in the discipline area of that offensive line.
Yep. All right. Last one we have here is the interior offensive line against Vita Vea. Kalijah Cansey's out. So that puts you in a situation where you are able to give Josh Myers help on pretty much every single play. Depending on where the play's headed, you're either going to have Simpson or Tip helping to chip Vita Vea. along with Josh Myers. So look, if it's one-on-one, we said earlier, like there's a good chance that Myers just gets overpowered by Vita Vea. But if you can help him all day and you can somehow neutralize him with two bodies, that kind of creates a big opportunity in the run game for the Jets. So that's going to be something to watch.
Yeah. So hopefully the Jets respect Vita Vea. Don't run at him, run away from him.
All right, so let's get into the gambling stuff. We have about 6 minutes left here. Hassan Reddick to record a sack plus 154. Again, I'm gonna read straight out of the prep doc here. Unfortunately, a nuclear whale missile play.
Yeah, like I mean, you got to get in front of it, otherwise you're just going to be upset by it.
Do you want to take the Tyrod Taylor one since you did the research here?
You actually did the research. You're the one who put his last 4 games on there. So this is what helped tip you off to this play. But Tyrod has gone over 200 yards in his last 4 starts. For him to throw 200 yards today is plus 122. Sometimes we'll do this for like the ladder bets. I don't think the Jets are going to be able to run the ball super effectively. And I think if the Jets go down early, they're going to be in a much more of a passing script. So when you do with a ladder bet is that you'll bet like multiple things about for a player doing that. So if you hit 2 of them, you make your money back. So like if you start at 175 is minus 160, 200 yards is plus 122. Funny enough, 225 yards is plus 225. And then if you think Tyrod goes over 250, it's plus 410. So if you hit like 2 of those, you should be fine in that regard. So I think Tyrod's going to have to throw the ball all over the yard today.
Yep, absolutely. And then you have a Bucky Irving one in here to record a 20-yard catch because we can't defend a screen at plus 360. Man, that feels like really good value. If
you parlay that with Hassan Reddick, if you really want to parlay your misery, I think that's going to pay out like close to like 9-1. So,
yep.
Just saying.
All right. So I asked a sports-specific AI for a can't miss parlay between plus 400 and plus 700. They gave me a pretty vanilla one. I actually don't love it. It's Bucks minus 6.5, under 43.5, and a Bucky Irving touchdown. That's plus 526 on FanDuel. Again, I'm reporting the news here. That's what the robots told us. I don't really love it.
Robots might be right on that one. That's a good one.
Some Jets single bets that I like. Shout out Jets singles. Jets money line at plus 265. I think it's worth a taste. I don't think the odds are as high as they should be. I would have expected that to be into the 300s a little bit. But hey, it is what it is. I am who I am. So whatever. Tyrod Taylor's thrown to tight ends a lot in his career. I kind of went back and I looked at all of his time, going all the way back to the Ravens and every team he's played for. He has always spammed the number 1 wide receiver and the number 1 tight end. That's kind of like what he does. He filters his targets down into the most top end pass catchers that he has. And so I think going Mason Taylor, anytime touchdown scorer at plus 550 is worth a little bit. There's also a bet on FanDuel that says Garrett Wilson or Mason Taylor. It's plus 135. Kind of feels like that's worth a unit as well, especially if the game script determines that the Jets are going to be throwing the ball here. And then one more parlay, if you're crazy, Jets money line plus the over, which is essentially just one of my favorite betting strategies, which is just fading logic. Just saying, yes, I've done all this research. This is what the numbers say, and I'm going to do the complete opposite. If you like to gamble like that, which is how I like to gamble, Jets money line and the over is plus 493. So a little bit of good value there. Meegs, we have 2 minutes left. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, okay, which would have been funny because that logic would have been perfect for week 1 if Boswell didn't hit the 60-yard field goal because, like, if that game went over, you thought the Jets would have lost because no one thought they could score on the Steelers, and then it turned into, like, a Big 12 shootout, for lack of a better comparison.
Exactly. All right, so we have 2 minutes left. I'm gonna put out a PSA. We need you guys to start calling in. Preseason's over. We're 3 weeks into the season now. I will say, so there was a time when I, listen to sports radio nonstop, and occasionally one of those people on the fan would get me angry enough that I'd be like, "Fuck this, I'm gonna call in," right? And I would be sitting on the phone, so nervous, my heart beating, like freaking out that I was about to be on the radio. You don't need to feel that way with us. This is a different medium. We're your friends. We're here to hang out. Come on, turn your camera on, or don't turn your camera on, but come talk to us and give your takes and fire them off.
Yes.
There's nothing that's too crazy or too stupid here. So please.
You will never be as positive as Paul. You'll never be as negative as me. So we got the complete ends of the spectrum here that you guys just got to fit in the middle. Believe me, there's no take that's going to be like, wow, that's crazy.
PSU Joe, we're holding you to that. He says he's in Costco this week, but he promised he's going to call in next week. So PSU Joe, we look forward to you breaking the seal. We'll get you on early. Call in the first 5 minutes. We'll get you on. And we appreciate it, guys. We appreciate you all watching. Hop over to Connor on SNY now with Steve Gelbs and the crew. And, man, let's get a win today. I guess we got to do predictions, right? What's your official prediction?
27-17 Buccaneers. I think they covered the spread.
I'm going to go 16-13 Jets.
Oh, God, you're going to predict them to win every week. All right, guys. Take care.